Hi, I'm Craig the geologist, and today we're going out to have a look at the newly crowned oldest rocks in the world. Oldest rocks in North America. Oldest rocks in the United States. Come join me. Just a few months ago, in April 2025, there was a new oldest rock in the United States crowned. Not the oldest in North America, because Canada's got some rocks that formed on like the first day the earth appeared. But what's the deal? How do you end up with a new oldest rock? You know, when a person is crowned the oldest person alive in the world, it's usually kind of a short-lived title, unfortunately. They pass on because they are incredibly old and there's a new person crowned. So what's the deal here? Who killed the oldest rocks in the United States to allow this unit here to become the new oldest rock unit in the US? Well, rocks don't work that way. So how did the Watersmeet Gneiss become the oldest rocks in the country? We know that the Minnesota rocks that previously held that title are still there. How did these rocks get older? Well, Einstein determined that time is relative. It moves at different speeds in different places. And that is definitely not what happened here. The truth of the matter is, geologists developed more precise methods of measuring the age of rocks, age dating the zircons in these rocks. Zircons are minerals that form in igneous rocks. And they were able to use those more precise methods to narrow down the age ranges of these rocks. Because usually when you determine the age of a rock like this, you say it's 3 billion years plus or minus, 400 million or something like that. So you get an age plus a really big range of, possibilities. And so the center point age on that range for the Watersmeet Gneiss was something younger previously. And those Minnesota rocks were dated at 3.5 billion years. Well, in April, the results came out that with the new dating methods, the Watersmeet Gneiss is actually most likely to be 3.6 billion years, plus or minus a couple hundred million for the possible errors. So it could be closer to 3.8, but they're pretty confident it's about 3.6 billion years old. That is crazy old. I mean, the Earth was pretty much molten for a lot of the time before that. This is dating back to basically the start of plate tectonics. And if you haven't watched it already, I did a pretty extensive video on how crazy long the geologic timescale is. I walked 9 miles for that video, so if you haven't watched it, please watch it. Please reward my 9 miles of death march on that one with a quick click and a like. But 3.6 billion years, that is old. I mean, I'm wearing the same shirt I wore on that geologic timeline walk. That's Reunite Pangea shirt that my neighbor made for me. It's an awesome shirt. I love it. But the age of the dinosaurs ended 66 million years ago. And Pangea itself broke up around 100 million years ago. Ancient, right? Well, 100 million years ago, when you compare it to 3.6 billion years ago, is nothing. Let's just say you're in your mid-30s watching. If you're in your mid-30s watching, then the time that elapsed since the breakup of Pangea, in relative terms, for a 3.6 billion year old gneiss, is similar to the time that's elapsed since today, 1 year ago for you. It's old. I mean, and what we consider to be massive periods of time when you're talking about relative time on these kind of scales, it's a flash in the pan. Honestly, I've got to say the trail out here is very nice. It's an enjoyable walk. This is, you know, there's a lot of mosquitoes as you get in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. That's always going to be a truth of the UP. But this is a well-groomed trail, not wildly overgrown, not paved. I gotta say it's kind of like an ideal trail as far as I'm concerned. Very comfortable. Anybody can walk this so far. All right. Full disclosure, this convenient, very easy trail does get a little swampy over here. So, boy, this is getting real squishy. I'm not a huge fan of that. Okay. As I wander through the forest looking for the Watersmeet Gneiss, allow me to explain exactly where I'm at and why I chose this location. First of all, the Watersmeet Gneiss is located near Watersmeet, Michigan. It is not very widespread geographically. Where it outcrops is not in a very large area. And most of that area is fairly flat and very, very heavily forested. And in that forested area, a very large percentage of that is swamp. Well, guess what you don't get a lot of in swamp? You don't get a lot of big rocky outcrops. So if you're looking in an area covered by forest, mostly flat and mostly swamp, where are you going to find an outcrop of rock? Well, there are no cliffs out there, but one place where you're going to always find rocky outcrops is in a waterfall. Waterfalls only go over freshly broken rocks. Waterfalls never drop over soil onto soil. You know, the water erodes the soil away to get to those rocks. So wherever there's a waterfall, you're going to find outcrops. And so when I was trying to find the best place to film the Watersmeet Gneiss, I said, hey, I need to look for a waterfall. And lo and behold, there's really only one in the Watersmeet Gneiss area, and that is Ajibacoca Waterfall. It's a place I've never been to before, but it looked interesting, looked beautiful from the photos I've seen, and that is going to be the best place to see the Watersmeet Gneiss. So there we go. I went out there, I found this trail, and we're heading out. Now, I didn't mention the specific trail I was on at the start of this video because I wasn't sure whether I was going to give the location away. You see, the Ajibacoca Falls Trail is never advertised as a way to visit the oldest rocks in the US. And I thought, you know, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe the locals don't want a lot of people going out there. And it makes a little bit of sense. Now, it is national forest land. It's public land, so anybody can go out. But I thought, hey, you know, I should be respectful. If they don't want a lot of people coming out to see this, maybe I won't advertise where this is at. However, it is now crystal clear exactly why this trailhead isn't advertised as the place to go to see the oldest rocks in the US, and it's because of this. Well, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that beaver activity has done this to the trail. And after walking through the forest a little bit, I have confirmed that there's definitely no way out there. It's all swamp out here now. On the trail, off the trail. The only way out there now is to forge a brand new trail through uncut woods to a place I've actually never visited before myself. So that ain't happening. I'm adventurous, but I'm not foolish. I suppose that depends on who you ask. Take a look at that beaver lodge out there. That dude's to blame for all of this. So apparently, the oldest rocks in the country are inaccessible to everyone right now until that beaver dam disappears. And frankly, I don't think anybody's going to do anything about it because While it's annoying that we can't visit the oldest rocks in the world, sorry, not the oldest rocks in the world, the oldest rocks in the US, it's not really worth destroying an ecosystem just to restore the trail. All right, get back onto the muddy trail over here. I was really hoping this was just a short little section of mud we could get through and continue on to dry ground beyond. But it looks as though we got a quarter-mile of waist-deep water to go through. So I'm at that favorite place of all geologists, a road cut. There are more beautiful places to film and find it, I would presume. But I don't have a boat to get there now. So we're gonna film along the roadside here, and I'm very happy to have found this. Thank you to Mindat for documenting places like this so that I could, on the fly, try to find another outcrop as opposed to the one I was planning on filming at. Let's have a closer look. These are the oldest rocks in the United States. But it's important that they be tagged with spray paint so that we all know that L loves M. Let's try to find a different spot. Oh wow, L just really loves M. Boy, I hope those star-crossed lovers made it. All right, well, as you can tell from the reeds here, I'm about to get my feet wet all over again. Yep. Hey-ho. And here you have it. I am touching the oldest rocks in the United States. 3.6 billion years old. They determined the age by dating tiny little zircon crystals inside that went unchanged since they formed in the magma chamber that they were erupted from when these rocks were erupted originally as a day site. Now, gneisses are part of a metamorphic sequence that we normally associate with sedimentary rocks like shale and siltstones. But you can get gneiss forming from other rocks, including volcanic rocks, if they have the right composition. If we look over here, this appears to be a giant quartz vein here, just running straight through this. The wife was picking up some quartz just now. I'll have to let her know that that's 3.6 billion year old quartz. Of course, if it truly is a quartz vein, it came in after the surrounding rocks. But if these are the oldest rocks in the country, that could very well be the oldest quartz vein in the country as well. So she might be happy to hear about that. I don't believe there is a way to age date quartz. There are a handful of different dating methods, and scientists get more creative with it every year, it seems. They get new techniques and clever new ways to figure out the age of things, but I don't believe at this stage there is a way to date something like a quartz vein. What you really need in almost every situation for age dating is a radioactive material that you know the decay rate for. And the reason we can date those zircons is because the crystals are extremely durable, as you would imagine they would have to be to survive the kind of metamorphism they went through here. And they trap the radioactive materials inside as well as their daughter products. So you can know the exact amount of the original radioactive material in there, and you see how much is left today, and you take that decay rate and you extrapolate back in time, and it tells you how old it is. These gneisses are exhibiting just beautiful classic banding. This is a gorgeous textbook gneiss right here. Now Todd, who's coming out there with me and turned back at the Beaver Dam just like I did. He was hoping to get a few pieces, and I said, well, maybe we don't knock off pieces of the waterfall out there. That ain't cool. But road cut, I'm totally cool with. I'm going to encourage him to come out here and get a piece of the oldest rock in America. So these rocks over here are extremely lichen and moss covered. I don't think it's really worth trekking into the mud for that, although you do see some freshly exposed material here. It's quite pretty. Kind of your classic gneiss though. Honestly, if you found another random gneiss, whether it's 100 million years old or a billion years old, they're probably going to usually look, especially to the untrained eye, very similar to this. That classic gneiss banding. The banding in gneiss occurs because the minerals segregate as they're heated and as they're metasomatized, which is a very fancy word for remineralized through metamorphism. They segregate. Things like to stick together, and so quartz moves towards quartz, feldspars move towards feldspar, and dark colored mafic minerals move towards dark colored mafic minerals. And they form these bands like that. And that's your classic gneiss banding. This is a real beauty here. I can't tell you how happy I am to find this outcrop here. I was real excited to see an outcropping of this out in the woods, far away from the traffic, in a natural setting, cascading waterfall. Would have been gorgeous. But you know what? This will work. Especially if it doesn't involve swimming through a mosquito-infested swamp. This outcrop is on 45, just north of Watersmeet. If you want the exact location for it, Mindat has a very accurate location for this outcrop recorded. Be careful if you come to visit this place. The cars are driving 75, 80 miles an hour along this road. You can't get far enough over. That is, as far over as you can get. You're still gonna wish you could be a little bit further. But I will post a link right here. Mindat. You can go there, you can click on the latitude, longitude, and it'll bring up Google Maps and show you exactly where you could stop to have a quick look. Please don't bring rock hammers. Please don't work away at it. This is a place to look and appreciate. These rocks are not valuable. Other than their age, they are not unique. They are like every other gneiss on the planet to the layperson, unless you're out here with some fancy equipment to analyze it. It's not worth risking your life to get a close look. It's not worth trying to destroy the outcrop or haul big blocks of it off. But if you're a nerd, like I'm a nerd, and yes, I'm definitely a nerd, then you might enjoy coming out and having a look at these. Oldest rocks in America, 3.62 billion years old. Pretty amazing. I gotta touch it again. Well, thanks for joining me on this wild and at times unpredictable adventure to find the oldest rocks in the United States. Watersmeet Gneiss, just outside of Watersmeet, Michigan. Join me next time. Thanks for coming along. I should also point out that this area has some fantastic waterfalls all over. This is Bond Falls, so make sure if you're making the trip out here to look at the rocks, you're looking at the waterfalls too. It's a wasted trip if you only do one and not the other.